so it's going to stink for you guys, and then I'll refine it, and it'll be good down there. So, all right. So we're gonna be jumping around a little bit tonight, but it started out. Jesus calls us to a life of faith, not comfort. So if somebody would look up James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Yeah.
My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Know that the testing of your faith produces patience. For that patience hath its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing.
Okay. Find joy in your hardships. Does that make sense? No. Exactly. So we know what, let's start here. We know what trials are: stress, difficulties, persecution, etc. I have written down here, it's what Dusty Rhodes would call hard times. And if you're a wrestling fan, you get that. If you're not, you don't. But, well, hold on. Did you know about Dusty Rhodes' Hard Times promo?
I didn't check it out this afternoon, no.
Okay, if you're an adult wrestling fan, you know this.
We have Dusty Rhodes every time a car goes up on
Yes!
I thought you were referring to a country song or something.
No! Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. It's Country Roads. Come on! Now we're getting way off the rails already. All right. It's explained in James as a test. So, again, I'm going to have you guys hopping around tonight. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 1, 6 and 7.
In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you have grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being such much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ.
Okay. So what I have for that, and then I'll open it up for thoughts. For 1 Peter, tests will refine what is genuine. Difficulties reveal people's true nature. Any other thoughts on 1 Peter or my statement?
I don't have a thought on either of those, and I'm sorry if you're going here later. But when we were reading in James, and then again in here, I was reminded of the first chapter of 2 Corinthians, verse 4, where it talks about being comforted in our affliction so that we may be able to comfort those who are in an affliction. And, using those trials and tribulations to help those who might be walking through the same trials and tribulations that we have been through. So that was just and that's one that I had highlighted in my Bible. So that's one, when you were reading those, I was thinking about, how we're also told that we should share those things to help others.
We're not going to get to that specific verse, I don't believe. I know I read it. We're going to get a little bit on that topic. But yeah.
Well, I did a sermon years ago, and it was talking about this in weights. And God's not going to give us more than what we can handle, but to get stronger, we have to, if I want to get body strength, I got to be out there pumping. And I don't like doing that, but you look at the results. You look at where your goal is, and that makes it easier.
Yeah.
And when you see that completion of that goal, and we've been through some tough times in our life. Lonnie and I have been, but we're better people because of it. And sometimes it's hard in the moment to see that, but it's easier to see it looking back than what it is, at the time. If somebody said, be careful praying for patience,
There's only one way to acquire it, yep.
just try and have patience.
I do that, you don't get me Austin.
All right. All right. So, yeah, there is in a sports metaphor, like when I coach hockey, right? You're always trying to get better. You never settle. You're never satisfied. So I like to use the analogy of weights sometimes with the kids. I'll be like, if I lift 20 pounds and I don't move up or down, I'm going to get really good at lifting 20 pounds. You don't get stronger until you start going up a level, going to 25, 30. So, all right. Any other thoughts? So remember, it refines what's genuine, and difficulties reveal people's true nature. Like, you know who you are. Like, okay.
Yeah. I had a thought and then right when you said that, the train got derailed.
Yeah.
That gets worse as you get older.
Yeah.
My ADHD, I'm
So you're 40 now, aren't you?
I know. No, 39.
oh, we're running it down.
I'll take that from me. The last part you said there, your statement about showing your true self. Trials and tribulations are part of life for the Christian and non-Christian. It's just the perspective is
Yeah.
different, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's essentially where I'm going is this is going to happen, right? And I don't want to say, because I know a lot of people feel this way. I get really downtrodden because it's such a simple answer to me when people are like, how do you think there's a God? Look at everything that's going wrong in the world. Why would he let this happen? And it's like, the answers are right here.
And picture what it would be like if there wasn't a God.
Yeah, and again, we're going to get into more of that in hopefully down here. So that's kind of where I was going with this. So back in, and I'm just going to go there, back in James 1:4, it's in the 4th verse. Hold on. It says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So to me, this says perseverance leads to maturity. And what you guys hear me a lot up here saying, whatever gets you in the door, whatever happens, you know. Talked about, there was a vigil for Charlie Kirk. Arliss talked about it on Sunday. 50 people were baptized. If that's what led them there, great. Now they got to mature. You know what I mean? Now we got to read. Now we got to learn about the work and the maturity. And what builds maturity? Trials and tribulations. But perseverance, that's what leads to it.
Well, you can tell a lot by a person by how they handle themselves during one of those trials or tribulations
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Well, it can go back to kind of a control freak. Us as humans, I think we have an inherent trait to want to control everything that goes on around us. And even me and especially my wife, like to not give all of our burdens to God all the time. It's not far from our mind, but it's not the first thing that we think of. It's how do we move on from that. All right. Let's flip again. Sorry, I told you I'm going to have you guys all over. Romans 5, 3 through 5.
Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us.
All right, so the theme of maturity resonates throughout the Bible, correct? And I mean, we read these verses, These are a lot of buzzwords that people in my profession of coaching use a lot. Character, perseverance. You know, we talk about a lot about character, but when you look at the Bible, this is a theme throughout. So one of my favorite, or not favorite, just kind of me the most obvious is when we talk about perseverance is you look at Job. Was that smooth for him? And I'm not just talking about him being tested, you know, and his kids died. I heard a really funny joke about him today. He's like, his kids died, he got covered in boils. His wife didn't die. Somebody's like, hey, his wife's right over there. And Satan's like, I know. So that was pretty funny. But no, I mean.
Well, Amy, I think you used it a minute ago where you said buzzwords and stuff, but that perseverance, that in of itself cannot happen without a trial. I mean, that word, right? I was sent by Jeremiah McKenzie, because everyone does, and it's fun. But Jeremiah McKenzie sent me a link on Facebook today about the Chick-fil-A being built in Lancaster, right?
How many times have you gotten that?
All right, so I did not have to persevere when I went to Chick-fil-A. That joy abounds, right? You take me to Salad World, and I have to persevere.
Take you to a hot dog cart, you have to persevere.
That's right. Trials, all sorts of tests can happen, right? So there's a difference, and understanding that word alone itself indicates perseverance, and you brought up Job, that it's a tough road. And you asked that question of was it smooth? Well, it could, like if he persevered, and that's what the Bible tells us, that he had to have gone through a test. He had to have gone through something and come out on the other side.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you bring that up. I was talking about you. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There was a Chick-fil-A food truck in Zanesville at one point, and you stood in line for over an hour?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. We were talking. We were talking about patience, and we're like, today's world, like, Wi-Fi goes out, or like it takes, like the Wi-Fi is moving slow, and I'm upset. But yet here's Scott with the most basic chicken in the world, and he will stand in line for over an hour.
Which just goes to show you that one person's trial is not a trial for someone else.
Right? One person's trash is another man's treasure.
Well,
Right?
I think that you made a fair comment, that in today's world, everything is just given to us. I, several weeks ago, realized that our Netflix subscription was costing $30 a month, so I downgraded it to the one with ads. So
Yeah,
it's like $8 a month, and my family went crazy. Because they had to watch commercials.
The funny thing is our Hulu has commercials.
Yeah, so
And I was talking to my grandpa because we get it through our phone plan. We get Hulu and all those things. And he's like, "Do they have ads?" And I'm like, "You grew up with like 3 channels. What are you worried about ads? Like what?"
But you know, like my kids aren't used to that. They're used to being able to skip the commercials or whatever.
Yep.
But even my husband, who grew up with commercials because that was the normal thing, is like, I hate watching these ads. I don't know why we can't go back to the other Netflix. I'm like, because it's $30 a month.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. We can watch 2 minutes of ads.
Well, yeah, when do you go get a snack or go to the bathroom?
That's when I pee, right? So, all right.
In today's world, we're used to everything being just like quick and being able
Yeah.
to skate through and not have to,
So it was funny because that went off on a sidebar from him talking about Chick-fil-A into patience. This isn't about patience, but
We taking bets on how long this lasts?
I don't know. So,
She's only one. I think the family's gonna outvote her and kick her off the aisle.
right? Yeah.
she pays the bills.
Yeah. I mean, who controls the money, right? Who controls the money? So,
Would not have survived back years ago when TV didn't come on until a certain time late in the afternoon. And then it would sign off like at 11 o'clock. And if you wanted to turn the TV on, it was just a matter of thing. And there
So,
And there were no remote controls, you had to get up.
yep, yeah. All right. All right.
I couldn't find a remote last night, so I used the app on my phone.
What a trial, what a tribulation.
Right. First world problems now is what we're talking about. All right, trying to get a little bit back on track. Let's go back to James. Let's go to chapter 5. Somebody read 10 and 11 for me.
My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endured. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful.
So there's a bow on Job and where it's brought up in the New Testament. We're going to stay right there. Just go down to verse 13. Still James 5, verse 13. Somebody read that one for me.
Is anyone among you suffering? Let him pray. Is anyone cheerful? Let him sing praise.
Okay, so how do we find joy? Prayer. Prayer is for our relationship with God, but it's also for us. We've said it. He wants it there. He knows everything that's on our mind. Lay it all out there for him, though. He wants you to bring it to him. He wants you to trust you. He wants you to trust him with it. There we go.
But on the flip side of that, we need to praise him when we're cheerful and things are, we can't just be asking when we're feeling down in the dumps and things aren't going our way.
We get up here when we take collection plate, and I say we're blessed, and I say it's more than material things, but we literally just had a 5-minute sidebar on Netflix accounts and going through that and how we can't do it. We're spoiled. We absolutely are. That is a blessing. I remember when the TiVo thing came out and I didn't have to I could watch wrestling in an hour and 20 minutes instead of sitting there for 3 hours on Monday night and just go back.
With Scott's email this week, I was thinking about, I know that Nina has 3 kids, and I can't imagine not being able to come up with food
Yeah.
for my kids for, a 1-week period. I have no less than 11 boxes of pasta in my cabinet right now. And, if nothing else, we would just go crazy on pasta. But
Carb loading.
yeah, we eat lots of carbs. Ask Mari.
What? You can't do that?
But I was thinking when I saw Scott's email that how much I take for granted the fact that I bought the pasta when it was on sale for $1.49 a box. So I bought however many, and I have a whole cabinet of pasta. I do not ever have to worry about my family going hungry.
Yep.
We went to the grocery store last week and spent $400, and it won't even last us 2 weeks. But we didn't have to think about are we going to buy groceries or are we going to do this? And so how much we take for granted and how we need to remember to be thankful for those things.
So prayer. We refocus on what we're supposed to be doing, giving our burdens, but also thanking him for our blessings.
There's a song that says something along the order of I'll lift my head in praise before I bow my knee to ask for something. I can't remember the exact words. After listening to that, and I thought I tend to do whenever I pray is to praise first, thank first, and then ask later. And it's kind of crazy how many times I find myself starting out with prayer with, please, Lord.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. The other thing I had highlighted here is, we give our burdens to him, thank him for our blessings. What do we ask for? Ask for wisdom. How to move forward in a situation. You're going through something. I talk about Solomon. I really like Solomon just because of his whole, you can have whatever, when he asked for wisdom. I like that story. I'm going to send you in 2 different places. So if one person could get 1 Peter 5:7 and somebody else could get Philippians 4:6.
Peter 5:7 says, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you.
Okay?
Philippians 5:6.
4, 4, 6.
4:6, sorry. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God.
Okay, so go to him in prayer. Pray without ceasing. Even in a world that says don't offer thoughts and prayers, keep praying.
Well, I look at it like a child, a 2, 3-year-old child. They know mom and dad are going to provide for them, so they don't worry about it. And then God, if we're right with God, he's going to provide for us too.
Yep.
And we try to teach that child though, and I think God does too, part of perseverance or patience is you have to do what you can to get there and then we'll help with the rest of it. I think God has that, is that way also. Those who work, help themselves, he's going to help.
I also think that when it comes to, asking God for help, we need to sort out the wants versus the needs. That's something that, it kind of, when my kids were younger, we did a lot of, Mom, I need this. No, you don't need that. You want that. That's a want, not a need. We're not going to do it today.
I need these commercials to go away.
Yeah. And, we still do that, but it's not as frequent in conversation. But I remember, when my kids were toddlers, I talked a lot to them about, no, you don't need that, you want it. And so, since it's not a need, we're not going to get it today. We're, maybe another time.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So, it's kind of the same thing. We need to make sure that
All
we're
right.
not just asking for I think asking for the things that we want is okay, but we have to know that sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about where else we can find joy. Let's go to Acts chapter 2, 44 through 47. Yep.
Now all who believed were together and had all things in common, sold their possessions and goods, and divided them among all as any had need. To continue daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread, from house to house they ate their food with gladness and simplicity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to the church daily those who were being saved.
Us. We find joy in us. Right? You guys get me. Sorry, I'm not better looking. So, right? We talk about this. Coming here, shot in the arm. Right? It's good. We get to sit here, talk, get a bunch of different opinions or different viewpoints. It's always good. It's comforting to be around people that are like-minded since we are such a small population within this world. Right? We carry each other's burdens. We sit up here, we talk about who needs prayers. As Phil says, we all aren't need prayers, but we go there, we find great comfort in each other. The way I had it written down is we make each other sane so we don't know that we're just a weirdo that lives different from everybody else. We are a small population, but there are many, so it's good. Let's go to Galatians chapter 6, verse 2.
What was the verse?
6:2.
Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ.
There you go. Call to do it. Love God and love others. Pretty self-explanatory. All right. So the next thing I have is have confidence. So we go back to James 1:4. Again, I'll just get there. Allow perseverance to finish its work so we may be mature and complete. I've talked a lot during my time up here about childhood, my relationship with my mom. Some trauma there. It can last. I mean, those things will probably last forever. Memories, whatever, of it. However,
Do you think you're a different person than you would have been otherwise, and maybe understand people going through the same thing that you went through and can relate to them, and help them deal with it?
Now, even
Yeah.
5 years ago, no. You know what I mean?
Can we go back to the bear one another's burdens?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, we pray, you know, we give it to God, but then we also share with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a relationship with someone, I know Mike gives me a lot of grief because I talk to my sister real frequently, you know, but
The amount of eye rolls that just happened.
she's my go-to person.
Yeah.
You know, she's my go-to person. So.
We all have that person.
it's-
She comes to me, except the things about me, and then she goes, they talk a lot.
But, I mean, she bears my burdens. I bear her burdens.
Yeah.
We have that kind of a relationship.
You know,
There's
go
a-
ahead, I'm sorry.
There's a pretty frequent phone line that goes between that man behind Cameron and right here. So, everybody,
It never ceases to amaze me, this congregation. If you need something, it takes a phone call.
Yep.
Not many people know that you need it, and people go out of their way to help. And I couldn't be more prouder of this congregation than I am, because of their willingness to do what it takes to help others.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, it makes me think of, I think Russ just led this song on Sunday, God's Family,
Yeah.
and the chorus of that. See, sometimes we laugh together, sometimes we cry together, we share together, right? So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
all the things that are wrapped up in life, we have that in common.
Yep.
It's important to have it.
Feeling that pain, and I think, you know, we do it with our church family, but I remember being at mom and dad's, and I had just recently found out that two of my best friends who happened to be married to each other, and they got married shortly after Zach and I did, he had had an affair, and they were no longer going to be married.
Mhm.
And I remember being at mom's house and crying and thinking how ridiculous it felt to be crying over someone else's marriage.
Yeah.
Like, this is someone else's marriage, and I am like distraught over it.
Yep.
But, you know, that was something that I,
Yeah.
felt for both of them.
Yep.
I think we get better as we get older. Because I've been through things now, having my father pass away.
Mhm.
I understand what people are going through. I understand that struggle that they're going through, and so I can relate to them better, and that helps me to help them better, and helps me feel for them. I mean, sometimes it's just a feeling.
Mhm. Yeah. There's a lot of empathy and sympathy, for sure. Yeah. All right. All right. Back to your question before we went backwards, because I kind of touch on it. So we were talking about trauma. However, I put, however, as we mature, we notice the central theme for a lot of the Bible is God's aim to restore. Back to Job, right? So I definitely feel restored in some things, my relationships there. So that's, hopefully that kind of answers that. But we see that. So, all right. Also, so moving on. Remember, we are not here for very long. We're going to stay in James. James is a pretty good book. Chapter 4, verse 14. Somebody read that.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
James 4:14.
Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes.
Okay. We're not here long, and I think we can take great comfort in that, in a sense, hopefully. If you're like me, this is what I have written right here. I cannot wait to get off this rock. I've referenced it many times, talking with Scott, me and him, we talk a lot, and even others. If there's no heaven, what are we doing here? What's the point?
Yeah. I feel sad for people who don't have that hope. I mean, why do you exist if you don't have that hope?
Yep. Well, that's exactly where I was going. So if there's no heaven, what are we doing here? Basically, this is what I wrote. Living our lives with aches and pains, sickness, poverty, wickedness, just to live some odd years, some more, some less. My grandmother passed away when she was 59. My grandfather passed away when he was 83. So some more, some less. Regardless, 83 years. Not trying to pick on anybody, but those of us, our golden agers, it goes a lot faster than we think. Would you agree? Just because you're front and center. That's
Seems to me like just yesterday I was canvassing. I mean, all of
Yeah.
a sudden, and you just wonder where did it all go?
Yeah. So, and when my grandmother, she was 59, I was 10. She seemed so old to me when she passed away. I said seemed, okay? I've grown and I've matured. But, I mean, we live some years, we go, I mean, I've seen the Grand Canyon, seen Niagara Falls, we've seen all these things, and all these things have been great, beautiful, with family and stuff. But if I just live and see all that, and still live through, war and famine and all that other good stuff and witnessing it, like we said, I'm blessed. Hopefully that never comes to my doorstep, but it happens here. And then we just fall asleep and we don't wake up. And then nothing. Or we just become a ghost and we just float around, and then we have to watch our loved ones go through all the same things, paying taxes. So, I mean, if there's no reward, if there's nothing we're working to, why do we stay here?
My uncle that I work for currently, for now, he's a difficult man, but he is known when he's about to make you do something he knows you don't want to do. He's known for saying, life sucks and then you die. And he's not exactly wrong,
No.
but his perspective is very cynical and twisted.
I got you.
But it sucks
Yes,
a lot
yes.
of the time. I mean,
Yeah.
there's good stuff.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of bad stuff. We've been talking about these trials and perseverance
Yeah.
all night so far. The difference again is we know there's something after that. And so we have a certain perspective and we live a certain way to make sure that what comes next is something desirable. He doesn't believe anything. So
Yeah.
to him it just sucks, and then the cherry on top, the cap, the end of it is
yeah.
fall asleep and everything's over.
And so, and I have that, like, heaven, that's our reward that we're working towards here, right? And then this is the other thing that I like to point out to people is every day I wake up, we talk about it's a blessing, right? Because we are nowhere near worthy of the kingdom of heaven. Here's another chance to go out and do some work. And here's another chance. So every day I wake up, I look at it as I'm getting another chance to go out and do these things. And the day I don't wake up, he's either done giving me chances and he's fed up, or he's like, you're tired, come on home, and that's just the way I look at that. So
Lonnie and I are leaving 6 o'clock in the morning and driving to Western Texas. We're going to spend 20 hours on the road, in the car, not on the road, in the car the next 2 days. I dread it. Why am I doing it though?
yeah,
Except because I know the reward's out there. I know I get to see my grandkids and my son and his wife and her parents. And in our life, we got to keep our eyes on that goal, on where we're going, not where we're at or what we're doing right now, but keep our eyes on that goal. And it makes life tolerable because you know where you're going.
yep.
You know you can fly.
I would say I'm still flying.
All right.
In an airplane.
So we're getting short, and that was the first kind of section I had on this. I was worried at the time. Like I said, there was actually more to this too. So, but I think the discussion was pretty good. Basically,
I'm going to miss your teaching class. You've done a good job.
thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to finish up because the next one I went into was John 16:33, and basically just some highlights of what I was going to go. Bible reveals to us that peace covers many things, not just absence of conflict. We go to Romans, where peace is primarily restored, a restored relationship with God, not about social strife. Galatians 5:22, peace in the Holy Spirit. Peace is within those who yield to God's Spirit. This can and does coexist with worldly trials. When we face our day-to-day problems, we know our God is with us. Remember, he said he would walk with us. He's not going ahead and making sure everything's okay for us. He would walk with us through that valley of the shadow of death. He's right by our side, but we still have to walk. Philippians 4:7, peace and spirituality transcend worldly circumstances when we focus on the matters within ourselves and the peace we get from God. We can't just ignore conflict exists in the world, which is why peace of God and these trials exist together. God is there with us in these trials. We were going to go to Matthew 24. Conflict in the world exists and will remain a part of the world. This is a consequence of man introducing sin into the world. Stupid Adam. Persecution within is a conflict, meaning that was where I was going with that is how did we get all these different denominations? Conflict within. And going off of that, I mean, you look at Westboro Baptist Church is one that kind of comes up right now. But what I had said there is conflict will arise when people label themselves Christians but don't fully align with Christ's teachings. We also see it play out daily with humans' desire for power. Washington, D.C. So that was just kind of where we're going. And before we get out of here, this all seemed very doom and gloom. And as I like to reference Mr. T.J. Kirk, the gospel is good news. And if it doesn't sound like good news, it's not the gospel. So, will somebody go to Revelation 21 and read verses 1 through 4 for me? And that's how we're going to end this.
Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, no sorrow, no crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away.
All right, so basically, we see leaders and nations have turned from God. All right, this world, the term in, I believe, political sense is failed state. When you look at things like Syria, it's a failed state. That's what this world is. It is, we have largely turned our backs on God. Not necessarily us in here, but as a whole. So, what I wanted to do there is we know, as Christians, we anticipate the day we meet in heaven, and there's no more conflict, pain, and suffering. That's why we put our faith in God and not in man. And that's, in the words of Forrest Gump, all I got to say about that. Anything else? No? All right. Well, I thank you guys for your attention, and this has been a lot more enjoyable than I expected it to be. So let's say a quick prayer before we get out of here. Dear Lord, we come to you again, and we thank you so much. And we know that it's inevitable that man brought evilness into this world and sin, and we're going to be dealing with that. And we know that through prayer and comfort of each other, that we can come to you, we can put our faith in you, knowing that there's work to be done here. And we ask for all of those things. And we know that when we ask for certain things like patience and that, like, we have to go through those trials to gain that. And we just ask that you help us take that head on with courage, and that we do it in your name. We help bring as many souls home to you as possible, and we look forward to that day where there's no more pain and suffering. We ask all of this in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.